Okay, actually, Busi, let me just quickly touch on what I believe is a big opportunity for our youngsters. This whole cooperative space. You know, I'm now part of a cooperative bank.
Wow.
Started by a young woman.
Wow.
It's called Young Women's Business Network. They approached me, they said, Dr. Ndlovu, we're starting a bank. Can you give us 10,000 Rand? I gave them the initial seed capital. They went to a couple of my friends, referrals. Cut a long story short, no sooner had they started that we had the 2 million Rand that was required to go and invest.
Within what space of time?
Sure, probably just under a year.
Sure.
So, there's another one, a cooperative bank we've just started with a group of women, again, in KZN. And we are now talking to the registrar because we think soon we will go and register that cooperative bank. So I have done a bit of homework on these cooperative banks. Remember that you need initially no less than 200 members.
Oh, that's the minimum.
200 members. And I just feel that the space is so wide open for young people to participate, because if you own equity in that cooperative bank, what do you have? You've invested in something, but if you need money, which happened quite many times in the last couple of months, somebody needs to borrow money because she's a co-owner of the bank. The bank gives them the money, they just want somebody to stand surety for that money. And I have had to stand surety for people who need 50,000 Rand because they've got an order from government, they want to go and start a project, they need a collateral or they need working capital, and I just stand surety. And I promise you, it has worked so well. So your 5 tips, I know it wasn't going to talk about the cooperative.
I love that.
But
I love this.
I think that that's one space that I will encourage young people, because they have the time to invest, to look at ways of investing in cooperative banks.
You mentioned that 200 members minimum, you know, but you know, these are people, we're talking people are people, if you know what I mean. What is the key, should be the key criteria in my son and associating himself with these 199 others? What? Yeah.
Okay. Well, what Treasury looks for in terms of registering you into, initially it's called a financial institution, cooperative financial institution, CFI, is what they call a common bond. So you must have the 200 people must be like, you know, represent a common bond, which means you either are from the same neighborhood or you are from a similar institution. If you are working in a workplace, you can put together 200 people, you form a common bond. And
basically,
so
it's people you know.
People that you know.
Comfortable with.
In KwaZulu-Natal, where we are busy with the CFI, we used the platform of the Women in Construction.
Oh, so okay, that's the common bond. That was your departure point.
That was our departure point.
Okay.
In Ekurhuleni, Ntabeleng, who's the founder, used a network of young women that she already was part of, called Young Women in Business Network, and invited some of us. So we all then joined in that common bond. So it's really about people that are known to you and that share similar interests.
Okay.
And incidentally, in that Young Women in Business Network, we also have men.
Oh wow! Yes. Okay.
The majority is women, but you know.
Okay, so you are
we must
gender.
carry them. We must carry them.
We need a wallet. In any way, the fat wallets. Wow. Yeah. No, you've actually brought in an interesting angle, because cooperatives, you all know the sad story about co-ops in South Africa, and sadly enough, Stokvel's by nature, there should be an easy model to actually grow as co-ops, because it's people that start with that common bond that you've just mentioned, people who are neighbors, friends working together. But we haven't seen a great take off of Stokvel's as co-op. So I'm quite happy to hear mentioning this. I think earlier on, because before we started our recording, you mentioned KWV, which is, can you just touch
KWV? KWV started as a cooperative. Initially it was just a few people, wine farmers in the Western Cape, saying, how do we harness our resources, our capacity to enter the distribution markets locally and globally. And that's how they started. A few of them got together, said, okay, we'll bring our grapes to a common place and we'll process at the common place because it's cheaper for us. And as they were growing, it became one of the biggest cooperatives in South Africa.
Wow. Sorry, just to chat in, talking about KWV, farming, grape wine farming, it takes me to our favorite salad, questioning acha. You can't have a meal without acha. Now, that takes me back to mango. Those women in Limpopo, think about it, can't you just imagine the KWV model?
We see, I stop, sometimes I go to the South Coast and I stop along the road and I speak to the women. I say to them, but here you are, there's 6 of you selling one thing. Have you ever thought that maybe what you should do is bring your crop together, be it mangoes, be it for whatever seasonal fruit there is, and then you process it. And processing, you can even do it, in your kitchens. You cook, you make jam, you make something, and then you sell collectively. Do you know that because you would have processed this thing, suddenly your income from processing becomes higher, and then you're not running towards my car when I stop because you're all now competitors. You're
now sitting on the shelf, but
my mango is better than the next one.
Yes.
So I agree with you. One of the things that I'm hoping really with the new approach that's there in our government to look at how to empower small businesses and cooperatives, that this is an aspect that will be looked at. I mean, you go to these rural areas, you find sometimes the guavas, the mangoes, in fact, they're being wasted, the bananas.
Avocados.
And agro-processing doesn't mean huge machines and so on. It means our mothers used to do it.
Yes, you can console those bottles.
They would use
welcome Dover stove.
Exactly.
Wow.
And they would do jam.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got vascarese now. Somebody gave one of my cousin sisters gave me vascarese to use on my hands.
Buy an expensive. Yeah.
I use that vascarese on my hands. Exactly.